Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. I want to do a quick video talking about this Fragment mega sale that is going on right now. And it's a bit of a weird one. Because this says in the news that it was supposed to start on Friday the 6th of May. Now, I didn't get any info on this on Friday the 6th of May, and I didn't see Drocgul the Gaunt, but this did kick in for me on Saturday. I got this news article on Saturday, and I got Elegaius fragments in the shop. So you can see it right here, Fragment Pack. I can buy one of these. It's $10, €10 as well on my phone for 10 Elegaius fragments. I think part of what's happening here is that this only shows up if you've got a lot of these fragments. So for example, I actually have 90 Elegaius fragments. I only had 35 Drocgul fragments. I didn't have any of the others. So I think the way it works is that these fragments will display for you in game with a purchase limit up to 5 if you have 50 or more, I think is what happens. So you could potentially spend $50 to get 50 fragments to finish off one of these champions if you already have at least 50 fragments of them. I believe that is how it works. I want to talk about, is this a good deal? And I want to give you my thoughts as well on each of these different champions. Let's rank them. Why the heck not? I'll give you my quick thoughts. I am personally going to buy this fragment pack. Why am I buying this? Well, I've got 90 fragments. This is only 10 for $10 or €10. I'm going to buy it in dollars on Plarium Play on the PC because it ends up being cheaper, and I've got dollars in my PayPal, of course. But yeah, why am I buying this? Really simply, I mean, for me, getting a whole brand new legendary, I don't have Elegaius. Getting that for $10 as a content creator is kind of a no-brainer, right? That's like, I could do a whole video. I can do a whole guide on Elegaius. You can check out Elegaius, which I otherwise couldn't really do. For $10, that's kind of a bargain for me personally. So I'm totally happy to buy this. But let's talk about, is this worth it to you? And is it a good deal in general? I mean, certainly when you ration it out, by their default prices, they're pricing a legendary champion at about $200, right, to buy all these fragments. If you're buying this on this sale price, 50% off, it's $100 for a legendary champion if you were to buy all the fragments. Obviously, you can't, but if you were, it's a lot of money. Are they worth that much? I think relative to your chances when you buy shards and pull shards, I think it's not a bad deal compared to that, but it is, in terms of just money in general, it's a heck of a lot of money. That is a heck of a lot of money. So that is pretty crazy. Also, we do have to point out, of course, well, let me actually ask you the question. Do you like this idea of these fragments being on sale? Do you think it's a good thing? I will say that last year for their anniversary, they actually did some tournaments where you could earn a few of those fragments through actually participating in game. And for me, that is something that I prefer. I think that's better. But I don't have any objections to them putting stuff up on a 50% sale. I actually think that's pretty good too. I would like to see both options being like recurring things in the game. Especially for these fragment champions. I mean, once it's a year gone, we're a year past like the fragment collector event in the game, I'd love to see some sort of recurring way, some sort of way to earn fragments for them and to actually unlock them. Like, make them sort of an exclusive thing for a year. That's cool. But after that, giving more ways to get them, I think is great. So I'd love to see in-game events. And then I actually really like this idea of the 50% off sale. I do think this is my conspiracy theory, guys. I think in terms of how Plarium prices things in this game, I think they basically take what might be a normal price for other games, and then they double it. I think it's basically what they do. So like with skins, they take what might be a reasonable price in other games and they double it. And then when they come along eventually, and they eventually start doing 50% sales, 50% discounts, we are like, the human brain is conditioned to go, that's an amazing deal. It's 50% off. What a bargain. When actually with 50% off, it's the price that it should have been maximum originally. Anyway, that's my conspiracy theory. Let's take a look at these champions though. So Drocgul the Gaunt, unfortunately, this one is over already, presumably. Elegaius looks like it's about to end. So we should have Iron Brago, Yoshi the Drunkard, Rule the Huntmaster, First the Grim, Rorik, Wormbane, and Vlad coming up. So effectively, this was like, Elegaius was 2 Halloweens ago, and Vlad was 1 Halloween ago. So they're effectively, it's almost a year's worth of these fragment legendaries are coming up. In fact, slightly more than that if we include Rockwool. So yeah, that's basically what they've done. That's basically what they've done. If they do more stuff like this, they can't resell a fusion champion unless they made the fusion champion into fragments. But they can redo fragment champions, so maybe we're going to see, just generally speaking, more fragment legendaries in the future and less fusions. I don't know. But if I was to rank them, let's go through it. Let me rank them in order of what I think of these champions, who I think is the best, who I think is the worst. Let's go from worst to best. The worst one I think is Rorik. I think Rorik is the worst one. He's an attack-based champion with some crowd control. He does decent single target damage. He can do some AoE stuns and stuff. He's not terrible. Like, he's okay. He's a speed and all battle aura. He's okay. And I know that I've got comments from people before that found him, for example, very helpful in progressing through Doom Tower. But I do think he's the weakest one out of all of these. He's definitely the one I would be rushing out to get last. There are better champions for progressing in Doom Tower. Now, if you don't have those, he's good. But he's not incredible by any means. He's only okay. None of these champions are garbage, but they're only okay. Next up, this one was a bit tricky. I'm actually going to rate Rule, the Huntmaster, as number 7 here for me, which is a bit crazy. Rule hits really, really hard. Unleash the Hunt absolutely smacks. Big hex-based damage nuke. The reason I'm rating Rule kind of low here is that you get Thea, the Tomb Angel, who is basically does the exact same amount of damage as Rule does. Force affinity, of course, but you get her for free through the Doom Tower. So I think that makes, I don't know, I feel like that makes Rule a little less useful. And I think that you kind of need Mithrala, Lifebane to really make them good as well. Like, there's still not that many champions that can apply Hex. So at the moment, I don't rate Rule all that highly. It's kind of difficult to make Rule work. I do think in the future, though, this could really change. You know, if they ever nerf like Seer, Rule becomes really, really good for future content. It could be a huge deal. You might be bringing like hex-based nukers could be the meta like 6 months from now. Who the heck knows? In which case, you'd love to have a Rule. But just right now, not amazing. It's hard to rate, though. Elegaeus, I'm going for Elegaeus, obviously. Elegaeus, I believe, because it's Gaius, like Gaius Julius Caesar. I was playing the game Expeditions Rome, and there's like Gaius Julius Caesar, and I was like, what Caesar? I've never heard that before, but maybe that is the way you pronounce it. All these Latin pronunciations, hard to do. But Elegaeus, and it is a man, because Gaius is a man's name, obviously. Gaius Julius Caesar. But yeah, Elegaeus I think is interesting champ, decent champ, very niche. Has got potential to remove 2 random buffs and decrease turn meter. Does more turn meter based on HP missing. Spurned by Death, this is kind of cool. If they're going to die, keeps them alive and gives them a shield and some turn meter. It's kind of fun. But it's this A1 can put block active skills. Not terrible. The A2 is really the selling point here. Single target attack that puts the target skills on cooldown and puts the skills of any duplicate champions on cooldown as well. So for dealing with like waves with multiple Sifis in Doom Tower, multiple Warlords in Doom Tower, multiple Rotos, multiple Valkyries, whatever, any of these waves where you've got multiples of these champions that become really hard to deal with, Elegaeus can come in and just put their skills on cooldown. I think that's very, very cool. Very good for their faction war as well. I think there are Valkyries in the Undead Horde faction wars, and he can just, boom, lock them all out of their shield and counterattack move. So yeah, he's great. I think he's cool. Great champion. Obviously very niche. You only really use him for that sort of specific thing. It's for this sort of dead stop, locking down those specific champions. But he's very good at doing that. So very useful for some Doom Tower stuff. I think he's fun. I'm going to look forward to building him. I'm going to put Drokghoul maybe next. Now, Drokghoul for like endgame stuff doesn't really have any particular uses. There's way better champions. But for getting him earlier in the game, he can be very strong. He's got an A1, which has a decent chance to stun. He does need to be booked, which is kind of the bummer to make his A1, A2 really good. He's got increased attack, increased defense, and a potential block damage on allies with less than 30% HP on a 3-turn cooldown. So that's actually a pretty good move. That's a great move. And then this one, he's got a shield on a 4-turn cooldown. Shield equal to 15% of his max HP. He's got good max HP. So it's a decent shield. It's obviously nowhere near as good as like Brogni or Valkyrie or Mithrala or Sigmund. It's nowhere near as good as those guys, but it's still a decent shield. And then it does a heal a decent heal as well whenever the shield is broken, expires, or gets stolen away. And it also will counterattack. Allies will get a counterattack whenever a shield is broken. So it's really not bad. It's a decent move, you know. It's helpful for just general progression, helpful against Scarab boss, for example. Probably pretty helpful against Hydra. He'd be decent to support you in Hydra early game. But late game, he does fall off. But I think for that early mid game, you know, having a really good shield champion like that with the buffs, it's actually not bad. Not bad at all. Next up, we've got, I'm going to put Versulf next. And these are the champions now. These top 4 are the ones that I actually really, really like. Versulf, I think, is excellent. He is great. Really underrated. He does need to be booked, unfortunately. So that starts to absorb a good chunk of books. But when you do book him out, he's got increased defense and ally protection on a 3-turn cooldown. And he's super, super tanky himself. This is just very good. Really good for clan boss. Really good anywhere you need to just protect people. It's a ton of defense. Then he's a 3-turn cooldown AoE attack that places leech. This does a double hit on anyone that's under hard crowd control. This hits incredibly hard. This is the hardest hitting HP based damage move in the entire game. If it double hits, this absolutely claps. But you wouldn't necessarily build him for damage. It's just going to do good AoE damage. And the leech is useful. Then his A1 has a decent chance to provoke and gives himself a really nice shield. That shield's very good. Makes him nice and tanky with the ally protection. Then he can provoke people that hit him. He has a HP in all battles aura. That's really good. He's just generally fantastic. Like, before you get an unkillable clan boss team, he's fantastic. Gives you leech, so you don't need lifesteal on your teammates. Increased defense, ally protection. All this stuff on a short cooldown. Excellent for keeping your team alive. He's going to be great for keeping your team alive in Doom Tower stuff. Just a great progression champion in general. Like a definitive sort of tank, protecting your team, locking down the enemy, putting out decent damage. I actually really like Versulf. I think he's really good. This is an unpopular one, but I actually rate Vlad pretty highly. I think Vlad is pretty great. Obviously, again, late game, not very useful at all when you get late game. But for that earlier mid-game player, having a Void Affinity nuker that hits hard is a pretty rare thing. It's a useful thing. It's very useful to have a good hard-hitting Void Affinity nuker. He has an AoE attack, hits hard, puts out leech, steals turn meter, which is pretty great. If they're High Elves, Bannerlord, Sacred Order factions, he just decreases it if it's not those factions. So for Arena, pretty nifty, right? Pretty nifty. Bring him in for your just general Arena farming stuff. You're going to be going up against lots of Arbiters. He can steal their turn meter. Void Affinity, no matter what affinity their nuker is, you can probably blow them up and kill them. The Leech is good too. This is a great move as well for the Dark Fae. He's really good for Dark Fae. Then he can decrease max HP in his A1, useful against the Scarab and heals him. This is lifesteal set built in. His A2, decrease defense, block active skills, can put Perfect Veil on himself as well. Yeah, so just very, very useful. And he gives himself revive on death whenever he kills anyone, which is okay. Crit rate in arena battles is entirely useless. So he's a decent nuker. He's got great base speed. You know, he's a good nuker. He's going to be great for you in Minotaur. He's going to be good against a lot of the Doom Tower bosses. He's just he's not top tier by any means. He's not top tier. He's not something you use end game. But for an early game player, a mid game player, he's one of the better nukers because he's so versatile. He's a versatile nuker as Void Affinity, and I value that. I think it's very good. I think it's actually underrated. I think people are too harsh on him because he's not endgame. Number 2 then, not number 1. Number 2, I'm giving to Iron Brago. Iron Brago, another super duper tank. His passive is the thing that's really special. Gives everyone 10% of his defense. So you build him with like 5k defense, and he gives everyone an extra 500 defense, which is a huge, huge boost to your survivability for your team. Very, very good. He has increased defense for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. This also does a big single target smack, and it can stun as well. Can even stun for 2 turns, which is awesome. Then he has an AoE attack that on a 3-turn cooldown, which smacks, and it has a good chance to provoke. And it also puts decreased attack if he has increased defense. His A1 hits hard, so he hits really hard. You know, you build him with really high defense. He hits really hard. He makes your team tankier. Increased defense, single target stun, AoE provoke with decreased attack. Really, really useful. Defense in Doom Tower battles as well. He's a fantastic champion. Really good. The places where he really shines, I would say early, even mid-game tag arena. He's great there. Obviously falls off late game. You're not going to use him really in PvP much late game. But mid-game tag arena, excellent. He's incredible for Demon Lord Clan Boss, non-unkillable teams. He's extremely good there. He's going to be very helpful for a lot of Doom Tower progression as well. So he needs a lot of books, though, like a butt ton of books. This guy likes to read. He's the most literate orc, I think, in the entire game. Iron Brago loves a book. That's a big downside. But he's great. He's very, very good. Very, very good. And then my number one, actually, this is going to shock people. I've got multiple videos on Yoshi on the channel if you want to see him more in action. I actually rate Yoshi as being higher. I actually rate Yoshi more. And you're probably going, what? What the fuck? But it's true. The reason is really this move is so good. Increase attack, increase accuracy with AoE True Fear. As you guys know, I use them extensively in Doom Tower. Increase accuracy with AoE True Fear is so useful for progressing through Doom Tower, where, you know, the first time you're progressing through Doom Tower hard, you're going to struggle to meet the accuracy requirements, and bringing AoE crowd control is very useful. He brings you both. He brings you HP burn and decrease accuracy, very nice as well. The HP burn adds up to some good damage against the waves. Stun on his A1, not bad. So he's great for Doom Tower progression. He's great against someone like the Frost Spider boss, where you need to burn it, and he's got tons and tons of resistance. Yoshi helps you hard counter that. His passive here, he gets Terminator whenever an enemy gets a buff. He's actually really good in Arena. Really, really good, especially with Stone Skin now, especially with Mithrala Lifebane. Very much like this sort of recent change in the Arena. Being able to give yourself increased accuracy is really powerful. It lets you actually debuff these champions like Mithrala that otherwise are basically immune to debuffs. Yeah, super good. He's good in like go second teams. He's incredible with bomb champions. What do bomb champions want? Attack and accuracy. He gives them both. So Gaius, not Elagaius, but normal Gaius, who's just in the game. The last fusion that was in the game, last Fragment Collector. He's phenomenal with Gaius the Gleeful. Anyone like that. He's really good as well with slower teams in Stone Skin. He's exceptionally good for that. Like you can put something like a nuker in Stone Skin, a stripper like Madame in Stone Skin, and then Yoshi in Stone Skin. So they all survive. Yoshi gives increased accuracy. Your Madame strips them, debuffs them. And then your nuker with increased attack, potentially even increased accuracy, just one-shots their team. Really good for things like that. You know, so something like what would be like a Yannicka, really good with that. Her A3 with increased accuracy, increased attack, really nice. So, and she has an attack aura as well, so that works well with Stone Skin. Lots of options with this guy. I think he's probably the most, believe it or not, he's probably the most endgame relevant champion of all of these, even more than Iron Brago in my opinion, which is going to offend most people, but there you go. That's how I would rank them. That's what I think of these guys in general, and obviously my thoughts on them is always changing, right? It's constantly changing. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Are you happy that they're doing sales like this in general? Are you disappointed that there's not events? What do you think in general? How would you rank these champions? And yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I will try get you an Elagaius. I keep saying Elagaius. It's yeah, that is right. Elagaius is probably not right. Elagaius. Gaius. It's very confusing. Gaius Baltar from Battlestar Galactica. Now that was a show. I'm going to go grab this. I'm going to grab this, guys. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.